Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. I was kind of took this as a little surprise. I didn't expect a crowd this big, but and so I'll try to wing it as best I can. So, nevertheless, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here and listen to our short story. And I think our efforts really start roughly around 2007. As some of you may recall, there was a big push for the Mackenzie Valley pipeline back then. And it was during the time I got elected, one of the things that we noticed in our region was the Ts'udé land use plan was not complete, and that was a federal responsibility. So we called on the Government of Canada to start, since it was their obligation, their responsibility, we called on them to start to complete the Ts'udé land use plan. So it was from then we took up that initiative and started championing it. Why? Because there was a lot of interest in Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta from industry and all around our territory. Historically, the elders and our people have always wanted to protect Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta because it's a wetland, it's an area of significant importance, of cultural importance, of cultural value to the Ts'udé. So 2007, we started making that effort with federal government. We first took on that initiative to work with the federal government and in protecting Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta. And part of our efforts was to advance those discussions through the self-government process. However, we decided to take this initiative up through a different method by working collectively with the leadership. Knowing that the land claims was designed the way it is, the Ts'udé have a unique way of governing themselves in our region. One is, we always want to make sure our chiefs have a seat at any decision-making table. So given that process that we were engaging in, our chiefs didn't have a say. So historically, knowing what I grew up with and how we are governing ourselves, and down the road we're going to be self-governing, and our chiefs aren't going anywhere. Having said that, those responsibilities fell onto the land corporations, all the entities that were created. Nevertheless, it was our intention to always try to make sure that the leadership and all the Ts'udé, including the Métis, I was always at the table, and that the leadership would always be involved in the decision-making process. Hence, we set out to create the Ts'udé Development Foundation, which has our two chiefs in Cove Lake and Fort Good Hope, and the presidents of the land claim organizations at the table. So we set out to do that again in protecting Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta, and it was most recently, a few years ago, some of you, we all know Bob Overvole, who has worked very hard with us, and along with gentlemen like Steve Cackway, John Taselli, who've come back and try to help us advance this initiative. So it is with their help, I want to recognize them as well. So I could say though, but the Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta is initially about 15,000 square kilometers. And with all the interest and what interests that were there, I know we ended up settling with governments at about 10,000 square kilometers. So I would say that it was a compromise on behalf of the Ts'udé, and so that we could co-manage the land. Ts'udé Nilïné Tuyeta is an important cultural and spiritual gathering place for the Ts'udé. Ts'udé Nilïné Tuyeta is a diverse landscape with extensive wetlands and plentiful wildlife that have supported hunting, fishing, trapping, and other traditional activities for generations. Where we are at today in establishing and management of our area. The significance of Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta and the values within have been recognized for generations. Discussions of using legislation to protect Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta began in early 2000s. An establishment agreement for Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta was signed on November 26, 2019 in Fort Good Hope. So that picture gives you an example how engaged our people were in this process. Yeah. Lastly, for us to turn, what is unique about our area's establishment and management process? Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta will be both an indigenous protected area and a territorial protected area. Planning and management of Ts'udé Nilįné Tuyeta will strive to respect and protect the land and waters, sustain the Kashugut in a way of life, contribute to reconciliation between the parties. Local people will be empowered to monitor and look after the land, water, plants, animals of Ts'udé Nilïné Tuyeta. So lastly, I want to say that, that with all these efforts, and engaging with all the stakeholders, with governments, and working with them closely, we're going to start implementing. We've taken a lot of work over the last month, 2 months, in getting a lot of the activities up and going. And so with that, I want to acknowledge a lot of the sponsors that have contributed financially and or otherwise. And those sponsors are the International Boreal Conservation Campaign, Ducks Unlimited, the WIS Foundation, Environment Canada, Tides Canada, and in particular the ENR division of the NWT, Environment and Natural Resources. So with that, on behalf of the Kashugut, and I want to thank you for hearing our short story and how far we've come and where we're going. So, merci.